Hey folks, how you all doing? I hope you're well. Now, just to let everybody know, I had a bit of slip on Tuesday, and after almost, it would have been 6 years of continuous sobriety today, Sunday, 21st of June, and I had a slip on a Tuesday, and I had a drink. Um, I don't know, I think it's everybody told me if you ever went back out there, what you've learnt would play with your mind, and it was like, my body thought that it needed it. No, perhaps the obsessive mind and minds as well would have been like, yep, you're going to need to get something done here. So I had a drink on the Tuesday, pretty much regretted it the very second after it. And it's not that, it's not just how people talk about addiction and that. A lot of people don't talk about the obsessive thinking patterns, and they don't talk about the mental health, impact when it comes with any kind of addiction. You know what I mean? I'm not just limiting this to, drug or alcohol users, but the same with smokers or anybody, even folk that are addicted to food, that kind of thing. It's it's just been a really difficult time for me. And it's not just the fact of being a really difficult time. I see so many people here, well, a lot worse off than me, I can assure you. And I feel guilty because I'm like, why should I be complaining? I should be happy with my lot. And recently, um, with that drink, probably had a bit to do with the time I'm actually feeling at the moment. But it's, I think the words are actually getting a bit difficult at the moment. Maybe I should have done a wee bit more prep for this. But if there's anybody coming in, please, if you don't mind, leave us a wee comment. You can give us a share. Or, folks, you can actually go and join the guest and Collins section if you want as well, if you've got anything to add. Um, just before we go any further, please bear in mind, folks, that I still do the unsigned bands in the podcast, and if you feel that you'd be a good fit for the podcast, please listen to the episodes before you submit your music though, because we do not promote Spotify or YouTube curated playlists. We need to actually get the tracks to play. It's all done very, very well, as professional as I can at the moment. I will be a lot more professional as time goes on. But, in saying that, things are going to be alright. And I feel that at the moment. But I feel that I've pretty much hit both ends of what you would call the addictive thinking patterns, because I've been all the way through, the euphoric highs. It's like, you get the lightning bolt and it's like you can see everybody. And even remember the first time that happened, it was like just even for a split second, it's like all the judgment had just instantly left me. And it was like I could just start discerning people. Wasn't judging myself either, and I think that's got a lot to do with it as well. But maybe I should try some earlier in the UK, but um, folks, please don't worry if you're coming in here halfway through. It's going to be getting uploaded as an episode anyway, and I hope anybody that listens to this can take something from it, something positive, because what I'm talking about really isn't positive. But at the moment, how people talk about serenity and gratitude, I'm finding it difficult to find anything to be grateful for, to be completely honest with you. And I'm not really happy with that. But again, I need to be completely honest with this, because when I first got sober all those years ago, I knew then I had to make a change. I was lucky. I was lucky because I've seen a lot of people that were going in and out of various different, self help groups that I really cannot be naming. But I think a lot of people that know me know my story anyway, and it's like, oh, what happened to such and such? It's like, oh, he went back out. And sadly, he never made it. Thanks very much for joining, folks. Please leave us a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Albert Boys in Illinois Studio. Folks, if this is a subject that you are interested in, you can hit the guest calling button if you really do like, and you can have a chat. And if you don't, please just sit about. Folks, if you listen to this, please, if you can go and just share this, it would be appreciated. And well, I'm just going to have a wee look about here because I'm still trying to get the layout of the whole thing, the laptop. Like I said, the unsigned bands, we've still got another couple of unsigned bands to, promote and bring on. And we will get that. But there's an amazing band that's coming up called Pigeon Pockets, a really amazing band from the Netherlands. So hopefully we'll see if I can even get that transposed straight after this. But the whole addiction side of things, it's until it got too much for me, I was always like, oh no, look at him, he's this, he's that, he's an alky, and I'm like, look, I'd be like, I you want to talk? I'm like, me? Don't be so daft. As if. And, you know, it's all fine and we'll be joking about this. But somebody always, what happened with me is I used to get annoyed because I don't know if any of I've ever heard of it. And it's pretty much a worldwide thing, I would imagine. And it's called the Serenity Prayer. Remember the first self help group that I went to? At the end, they actually sat holding hands, saying a Serenity Prayer. And I was like, to be honest with you, sorry about language. I was like, oh fuck, I'm in a cult now. Then I made the massive mistake of, me, I was never like a read about, stick to the book straight to the letter. It was always like, what's the point of reading the book? Just read the last chapter. So I'm away trying to make amends after about 3 weeks. After even going through step one, step two, and the steps were amazing for me. And I actually read a chapter called We Agnostics. That pretty much blew my mind, me personally. I know different people have different things about. Well, I know people that like the smart recovery, and there was my chosen one. Hi, sober Mike. Oh, how long have you been sober, Mike? Sober Mike, please, if you would like to hit the guest and calling button, you'd be more than welcome. But it's nice to see a guy with the name Sober. I'm actually just been sober a couple of days, Mike, because I'm just letting the people here know that I had a slip on Tuesday and pretty much, I wouldn't say I wrecked, the almost 6 years that I had under my belt, but it's certainly diminished from it because, you know, that's cool, Mike. That's cool, Mike. 6 years, well done. That's amazing. You should just give yourself a pat on the back. Folks, please let me know where you're all calling in from. So, Mike, if you don't mind me asking, can you just remember a pivotal moment when you thought to yourself, I need to change? I, I actually do because I was on a phone to a certain organisation and no organisation, self help group, helpline. And it's, I just knew I had to change or the alternative was actually looking really bleak. But even since I've done that, my old kind of ways of thinking were starting to creep in, and I was like, up and down like a yo-yo, very, very anxious and tense. And one minute I'd be like, oh, for euphoria and that, and like, oh, God is good. And then the next minute I was, you know, virtually at a living hell. And these are the things that I forgot about. Quite the funny thing though was one of the things at first kind of startled me a bit when I started going to meetings was a thing that people will call drunk dreams. Now, I used to always remember, even going on a bus to a meeting, like, oh my god, how do I tell the people at these meetings I was drinking? And then you're like, no, I wasn't drinking. But on Wednesday, there, unfortunately, when I woke up, I was like, damn. And I don't think my first thought when I woke up was, did I go to the shop and get another bottle? Then I was like, hell fucking no, I don't. You know what I mean? And because that is that thing, and I don't know if that's ever had, that length of sobriety. I've not been to a meeting, and I can't really blame it on COVID-19 or anything else for that matter, folks, because I just no. It's as soon as I hit that drink, as soon as that went in. What happens, folks, if people don't know, is a lot of times if you're an addict or anything, and as far as I'm aware, every addiction, as far as I'm concerned, especially like alcohol and probably other substances, well, there's a twofold thing. It's this compulsion. Now, I've never met an addict or an alcoholic or anything that doesn't show signs of OCD because it is obsessive. Because me, I'll be honest with you, it's one day, mate, but that was enough. That was enough, and sadly, if I'd left at that phone before I went and done that, I may never have done it. But it actually really startled me because I went and bought 2 bottles and 4 cans of other stuff. And that's when my fiance says, listen, can you be honest with me? Do you think that you went over there just to do that? And I was like, no, no, of course I wouldn't. But the more and more I'm thinking about it is, I remember, I remember creating triggers for myself just so I can go and do that. And fair play to her, I think she called me out on it, and I think she's right. And after I done it though, I had that drink, I got that feeling in my gut, I needed more, more, more. And you'll hear a lot of people that will talk about things like alcohol addiction, and then they'll be like, 100 is never enough, and one is too many. It's very, very true. But when the emotional pain gets too great, we change it in the quickest way. No, I agree with that. It's one thing I don't agree with what they say is living reality on reality's terms, because I'll be honest, and this is going back to what I choose my higher power. I believe the reality is perception. Nah, it wasn't boredom. Let's see, for I would say on and off the last year perhaps, I always went back and thought, what if I'm cured now? You know, not so much cured. I'm a bit too wise to all of that than that, but just kept creeping into my head, Mike. And then I was like, eventually, the funny thing is, when I went into the house I was in, there was no electricity or internet, and I'm glad, because me, social media, and things like fucking alcohol really do not mix. And boredom, I think, can be a lot to do with it, but I think this lockdown over here didn't help. But somebody says to me, do you think it was the coronavirus? And I'm like, no, it was me. The coronavirus didn't go to the fucking shop, buy the stuff, take it back, open it up, and pour it down my neck. And I must have stared at the first bottle I was going to open for about an hour. Well, I felt an hour, probably about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, should I or shouldn't I? And two words that could be an addict's downfall is two words. I've said it quite a lot. And I said it on Tuesday, and these 2 words are fuck it. Because when you say fuck it, you're more likely just to go boom instead of saying, why should I do this? Or why don't I just pour it down the sink? Because when I get sober, it gave me a life that I never ever thought possible. I started to actually get to know myself. I started feeling like the real, authentic me, the me that could quickly stop. Because what I found was I was a compulsive liar as well. One thing about drug addicts is folks that they can be extremely good liars. I'm not saying they're all crooked or anything, but it's like it's down to the whole word, in my opinion, um, ignorance. And a lot of people think ignorance is bliss, but nah, I can assure you this is utter fucking hell. This, and it certainly is not blissful. But you know what? I'm here now, and even on the Wednesday when I woke up, a bit rough, and I was like, my first thought was, nobody knows I've done this. Nobody knows. I could just lie about it and tell people that I'm sober, but they tell you in these meetings or as part of your program of recovery, I think as a step 10, you need to take a thorough moral inventory. And then it's like, that's why, and by the way, I need to say thank you to everybody on Facebook for their kind words when I put that up. I wasn't expecting such, you know, many people to, post up there. And I'm hopefully going to get back and, you know, just say thanks for all that because I really, really do appreciate that. Now, folks, if you don't know, again, my predominant thing here, nothing, Mike. I hadn't been doing anything for my recovery in a long, long time, and I need to be completely honest with that. It's folks, see things like programs of recovery, they will only work if you work them. Because see things like addiction does not discriminate. Addiction will take you, addiction will kill you, and addiction won't give a fuck who it kills or how many families it ruins. Because what they also say is, for every one addict, you could, and by the way, I believe it's probably a lot higher than this, can actually affect up to 7 people per family. And if you go look at that up, but even if you want to go buy the big book and the whole AA thing, it's quite ironic that it started off with a doctor's opinion and it went two guys. I do. And believe it or not, Mike, it's I know I should have maybe prepped this a wee bit better and maybe processed it at a better time. But yes, you do. And see this whole one day at a time. I had a meltdown last night, and right now I'm up and down like a yo-yo. And I was asked, "Does that get anything to do with the alcohol?" I'm like, it could be because I always, I, always, I honestly forgot about things like the 3 and 4 day hangovers. You think you're all right, and just the weird effect that alcohol has on you and it has in your mind. Because I remember, I think it was when I first got sober. I was sober for about, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks. I remember one Saturday morning I got up and I started staggering across the floor. I was like, what the fuck am I doing, man? I'm sober. And I just started laughing, but then I was like, this shit's fucking crazy. That shit is way, way out there kind of crazy. But then, you know, I should have spoke to somebody. And plus, and by the way, this is getting nothing to do with it. There was actually a wee girl that myself and one of my old sponsors. Yep, yep, I agree with you with the whole God's grace thing, my friend. I really, really do. And thanks for joining us tonight. It's much appreciated, mate. And folks, I'm going to be maybe doing a couple of more we kind of live talk show segments like this, but we're going to need to see how things go, and I'm going to need to be looking in at things like, oh, what was that word? Getting podcasts, yes, booked. And there was some guy says, why don't we check the service out? The first thing I done was like, oh look, you get this free trial for it's about 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, aye, it's $600 a month. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, no. You know what I mean? See if I'm paying that a month, I would like to land somebody like Brian Rose or Joe fucking Rogan. But mind you, I don't think Joe Rogan will be fucking boring his ass about um chump change like that now. 100 million. That's really, really good. But folks, please stay tuned to the whole JRP Empire thing coming up, because I'm going to be going more into the lines of doing things on YouTube, because I am going to be starting courses up on how to start a podcast, and also how to locate your micro niche. For those of you that don't know, right, what a micro niche is, if you are looking to advertise your product or service, see if you look up, for talk's sake, right, you have a keyword, it's like Joe Rogan. Everybody and their fucking dog will be bidding obscene amount of money on, Joe Rogan. Because everybody will go in there like, I'll just mention Joe Rogan. I'm like, and you actually think that way, you're the only person that's ever thought of this shit, Your old ego. Can't fucking whack it, man. But see if you go in there and Mike, I appreciate that. Thanks very much. I quite like Podbean. I used to be Wanker, but I think it's because Anchor is through Spotify. They were like, because you play the music, they're like, we don't care, what the licenses and laws, Mahira, we don't want this getting used for this purpose. So I had to leave Anchor, but I'd already sent the RSS feed over to Podbean anyway. But I didn't know, I went and split into two channels. So this other channel get deleted had 37 followers, because we're actually getting there. We're building things up. And folks, see when you start getting your micro niche. For example, if you like UFC, right, instead of going like UFC, you could maybe do a micro niche for safe tips on MMA weight cutting, right? I just discovered that, because see if for talking sake, you've got 100 people that are searching for that regular, you could go on there and see for $1 for 1 cent a bid. It might be 10 cents a bid, I do not know, but you would be able to certainly get a great deal more just to expand your space to start with. Right. Now, what I'm also working on now, I've got a PDF. I'm working on a PDF file. I'm going to get it published into an e-publication, and I'm going to get it released onto Amazon. Now, what's going to happen is I'm also bringing in other products and services with that. All about getting the correct gear to set up, not only your podcast, but also your home recording studio. I'm talking about equipment packages. So I'm talking about 4 different packages, right? And I also was told not to go anywhere near sponsors. But see if somebody says to me, "Oh, if I give you $10, will you mention this?" And I'm like, "Ah, of course," because I was offering free stuff to start with, and people are like, "Oh, he's offering free stuff. It can't be that great." And I'm like, "You really can't win with people." But please, folks, do not undervalue your product or your service, and do not think that you're not going to hit these high end sales, because it is possible. I've seen a lot of people doing it, and it's a lot more simple than what you think. It's what they call, is it an end to end business model, right? Basically, and I think even Brian Rose himself says you can have 10 up to 50 million YouTube subscribers. That's all very fine and well. YouTube, for talk's sake, could be gone next week. But what they're like for marketing, boom, 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 email addresses. Email addresses and phone numbers. That is the way to go. That certainly is the way to go. Right? And I'm going to be bringing out books about that, folks. And when I bring out my first book on the podcast side of it, it will not be sold at full price. You will only pay something like up with in the USA it'd be about $6 in postage, and I think over here it'd be like £4.99 postage over in the UK. We'll need to check that out though, right? But stay tuned with us now, folks. We actually had an input. By the way, congratulations again, Sober Mike, on your 6 years. Well done. Um, very, very pleased, and I'm very, very happy that you've actually done that. And long may it continue, my brother. And I just want to say thanks because I know I'm just sitting here, but my mental health hasn't been that great the last couple of days either. And I had a big bit of meltdown yesterday. But what happens with me is, see, when I kind of have these meltdowns with anxiety, I can get really, really like, then I just get that tiredness like this, like, oh, life is shit. Oh. Then I'd be like, oh, life is good. Then I'd be like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with this planet? And I'm laughing, but it's difficult and it's hard. But folks, please don't think that you're on your own here. And if anybody listens to us, if that's helped one person, then it's been worthwhile. Always said that. And please, folks, I know this was my baby. I've got another recovery page up on Facebook called Serenity Issue 2.0. I think now more than ever, I'm going to need to start doing more content on there just to let people know how I'm doing back on my journey. Don't worry. I'm Scottish. I'll be worse and all. I'll be like, I've had a crap day. I'll be telling people I have a crap day. But folks, see, I have been asked about the program of recovery. See if you can make it past the first 3 steps. You'll give me a good shout. But then when you start to take stock, start to take the inventory, and all I'm going to say is, if you don't even think it's for you, take at least 3 to 5 months just to go and even listen. You don't need to speak, just to go and listen. Because when you go to these things, folks, it'll be quite bizarre to see the first couple of meetings. All I remember, the first one, cannot remember much about it, apart from when in late and I was terrified. Fucking terrified, I'll be honest with you. Then the second one, I got up and I spoke and I says, my name is John, I'm an alcoholic. And I proceeded to cry relentlessly there. But my good friend, God rest his soul, he only died about a couple of weeks ago. He was one of the first ones there, and this guy was virtually, brought up. We were brought up like brothers. I mean, John, God rest his soul, tremendous guy. This is a guy you need to bear in mind that I've done all sorts with, drinking, other things, and when even I even end up going to meetings with guys I didn't like, even going to school and that, because it's like the old story goes. See, if you're all stranded in a ship that's sinking, doesn't matter who likes who gives a fuck. It's survival. It's like, come on, we're on here together, one for all, one for all. Let's get ourselves out the shit. Don't need to like each other after it. But you get in there, you help each other out. Been sitting at meetings with millionaires. I've been sitting there with guys that like, had nothing in their pocket, you know. But it doesn't matter because you're in there, you're all there for the exact same reason, you know. And I don't know. I wish I could just. go like, see how it says add music, right? It says no background music. I just wish it was like the iPad function where you could just, oh look, I don't want that stuff. I'll just use my own stuff, or stuff that a lot of these amazing bands have been giving me. Folks, please check through the catalogue. If you like unsigned bands, if you love live music, please look through the episodes and the catalogues. And folks, I'm going to just say the the, the podcast, and it's going to be a complete thing about doing the podcast, setting up, getting the right kind of equipment. But I'm going to be throwing in a few little bit extras, let's just say it that way. And then I'm going to be looking at the top of the range MIDI stuff, trying to get a wee package there. And I'm currently in talks with FL Studio about a, a certain couple of things. Now, folks, in regards to doing the whole FL Studio and things, people ask me, "Oh, how do you get you get your drum beat in that?" I think it's if you go into FL Studio, you hit F6. I think it's F6 you hit. It'll come up with that channel stack. But this is all something that I'm going to be looking into, and because we want people to be a success, obviously, we would like people to come on board and say, right, I liked your show. How about I interview you, you interview me? Quality. I'm all for that. What I'm not all about is people messing me about. That's one thing I'm not going to tolerate because, see, there's one guy I'm going to give you in particular. He's a very, very good guy. One of the first guys that I actually put his music on, ST1, Stone. He is completely and utterly at my back. He'll share everything that I'm putting out. He doesn't even need to like the music of that. He's that grateful that I done that for him. He's like, if you're doing that for me, I'm doing that for you. That's some good fucking camera shit. This guy's going to get his good camera. But please, folks, check out that guy. He's ST1, aka Stone. And I think you'll get my Facebook. I'm Stone Music 432. Right? Very, very good guy. Now, I don't know. I'm going to start doing a wee bit more research. And people, oh, I'm going to take a bit of a break. I'm going to do another live. And I'm going to come back here, right? I'm going to do a movie review. And I swear to God, folks, it's the worst movie I've ever fucking seen in my life. Right, thanks for listening. Please, folks, love yourself. And if you can't, go on the phone to somebody that does. Because I guarantee you, you're not on your own. Love yous. Bye.